This is Nathan Glendinning, and this is my persuasive speech, and this is my audience, Izzy. Lots of things have been affected during the pandemic. Some businesses, some people more than others, and some businesses more than others. Some businesses have been able to reopen. Some people have been able to start doing more things. But one thing that has been staying closed until the foreseeable future has been Disneyland. So why does this matter? Well, most of us live here in Southern California and go to Disneyland very often. It's one of the main places we go. It's a nice little trip to go to get out and get away from everything. So, me personally, I want Disneyland to reopen. I've been an annual pass holder ever since I was a little kid. And I've been watching all the press conferences that Disneyland has put out, as well as the governor, about Disneyland possible reopening either later on this year or sometime early in 2021. I believe Disneyland should reopen because it can do so safely. It can bring back tons of jobs. It'll help the economy and save all the small businesses. First, I'm going to talk about how Disneyland can reopen safely. Disneyland has said that they will open at 25% capacity, according to Alfonso Montoya. That means it would be about 13,000 people instead of the normal 85,000 people, as stated by Dina Williams in her book, The Secrets of Disneyland. That's a big difference from 85,000 people to 13,000 people in such a big park. Disneyland has also said that they will mandate face coverings to be worn throughout your time at the park. The only time you'll be allowed to take off your face covering is when you're drinking or eating, but you have to be sitting down and away from people. Everything will be outside, including all the ride queues, all the lines for the rides. That way, you will be able to stand 6 feet apart and be outside, which has proven to be better than being inside. Also, you'll be screened in advance, which includes temperature checks. Your temperature will be taken before you enter the park, and if you are above 100.4 fever, you will not be allowed to enter the park until you go through further screening. Also, Disneyland has set up hand washing stations. That way they can allow their guests to take the proper needs necessary to keep everyone safe that is visiting the park that day. So now that I've talked about the safety of what Disneyland plans to do while reopening, I'm going to talk about how Disneyland can bring back a whole bunch of jobs. Disneyland earlier this year had to lay off 28,000 employees, according to Jeff Collins of the OC Register. California right now is at one of the highest unemployment rates possible. Jobs are just sitting there ready to be picked up. If Disneyland was allowed to reopen, Disneyland would be able to rehire all 28,000 of those employees. Disneyland has about 6,000 employees per day, and usually on busiest days they would have 10,000, but since the park will be open at a limited capacity, they'd only allowed to have 6,000 employees per day. But that extra 6,000 can help a lot in the Southern California economy. Now that I've talked about the jobs, I'll talk about how it can help boost the economy and the small businesses surrounding Disneyland in Anaheim, California. First of all, let's talk about the economy. Also, according to Jeff Collins of the OC Register, Disney's economic impact every year is about $8.5 billion. And Disneyland being closed right now during the pandemic is going to cost the SoCal economy right around $400 million. Now let's talk about the small businesses that are suffering right around the parks. In Joseph Pimelton's article, he states that hotels, gift shops, restaurants that are all surrounding Disneyland rely on tens and thousands of tourists daily. But since the pandemic started, they have not got any business whatsoever. So, if Disneyland was able to reopen and have 13,000 visitors each day, that would be more than enough to help out the small businesses surrounding the park, whether it's some people staying in a hotel, some people going to the gift shops, just even the gas stations right there. Anything can help them right now. Now that I've talked about the small businesses, the safety, all the jobs, and the economy, it's time to wrap things up. In conclusion, Disneyland should be able to reopen because first off, they can do so safely. They can bring back a whole bunch of jobs. They could help boost the economy and help the suffering small businesses around them. I went over how they can do it safely by doing temperature checks, screenings, being socially distant. And by doing that, I would feel more safe for going to Disneyland with all those measures in place compared to going to a grocery store that has no measures in place as of right now. Next, I talked about how it can bring back tons of jobs. 28,000 people lost their jobs just because of the pandemic, and it's a simple fix. As long as Disney can reopen safely and responsibly, you can bring back those workers and start paying them again. Disney did their best to keep them hired for as long as possible and pay them their full salary, but when you've been closed down for so long, eventually you have to let that go. Then I talked about the economy and how big Disney plays a role in the Southern California economy, $8.5 billion a year. And just so far in this pandemic, the time we've reached, they have lost over $400 million just by Disney being closed. And then finally, I talked about the suffering small businesses that are scared to go out of business right now because Disneyland is still not open. If Disneyland could open and just get a little bit of visitors each and every day, the small businesses will be able to stay open and help each other out. Disneyland is a place that was meant to be open 365 days a year because, as Walt Disney said, all who come to this happy place, welcome. Thank you for listening.